The most important way to get your board members to build with you is by taking them through the strategic planning process. One of the reasons why most nonprofits struggle today is because they never took their board members through the strategic planning process. Instead, they outsourced the process to another professional, or they basically did it in isolation and tried forcing that plan on their board. This is why it's difficult for you to get your board members to build with you. In the world of community development, we say people who plan together build together. People who plan together execute together. So one of the ways to ensure they work with you is to plan with them. Planning with them helps them gain the sense of joint purpose, the sense of joint ownership, knowing that their voice is a part of building the organization. Also, it helps them understand the resources and the effort needed to accomplish the vision. And of course, at the end of the planning process, there has to be a delegation, which is where you delegate responsibilities to get your board members to begin helping you build out the different aspects of the organization while you provide leadership and accountability. That's how an organization is supposed to run. So how do you plan? There are basically 4 steps of the planning process. I had to include the executing part because I wanted you to understand how the planning leads to execution. The very first step of the process is the pre-planning process. The pre-planning process is usually in 2 phases. One is the community engagement, and the second is getting the ideas of these board members before you go into the planning session. The community engagement is because you need to be able to get ideas from the community before you even begin planning. But for so many organizations, they've already gotten this idea. So, of course, most times we just jump into the pre-planning phase where we send out emails and, include forms that get us to collect the kind of information we need from these board members before we then invite them into the planning stage. The planning stage is where you facilitate planning with these board members to define how each aspect of the organization is supposed to run, from fundraising to programs to partnerships to program execution to team building to budgeting. All that is part of the planning stage. And of course, the planning stage is to build that framework that each of these board members can then begin to build on. The post-planning stage is where you delegate responsibilities, and delegation starts with building out a more detailed plan for different aspects of the organization. So the board member who's delegated fundraising gets to build a more detailed plan. The board member who's delegated marketing gets to build a more detailed plan of marketing. That's where you're delegating leadership because they now are in charge of building those plans. They get to present those plans back to the board, which is also a part of the planning stage, for the board to provide more ideas and approve once the board is comfortable with each plan. And of course, once that plan is approved, you can then move on to the next step of the process where you begin to execute the plan, which is basically they leading the charge to recruit the team that's going to execute their plan, to develop the materials that's needed to execute the plan, and of course, to start working with those teams so that these teams can do the heavy lifting while they provide supervisory and leadership capacity over that aspect of the organization. And you, the founder, you, the leader, you hold them accountable. You make sure everything is going according to plan. At the end of the day, you also have to integrate those plans that everyone has built into one with a final budget that says this is the money we're going to need over the next 1-2 years to run the organization. That's how you plan to the detail, and that's how you empower your board members to be able to build out the different aspects of the organization with you. And that's how you get their commitment. So for founders who are looking to go through this process, we can help you show up as the leader that can guide your board members through this process. We can provide you the pre-planning email template and the form that gets them to share their ideas on the different aspects of the organization before you even go into the planning session. And then we go into the planning session with you to facilitate that process so that you all are really planning and building out a framework for the organization exactly as you've envisioned as the founder. And then we get to support you to delegate responsibilities so that these board members can begin helping you build out the different aspects of the organization, including integrating the entire plan once they present the plan and it's adopted, and then guiding them to initiate the execution. All these, we can help you and your board get through it. But of course, if you're one who's a do-it-yourself person, we also have the tools the planning framework, the forms that we can provide you, including the instruction to guide your entire board through this process. So get started immediately. This is not something you sit on. This is where you have to bring your board members together to start gaining their commitment, to start getting them to build with you. To get started, use the link below to book an onboarding session where we both go through the process, and then I can begin providing you the tools so that we can start executing together. But if you were looking to get started immediately by yourself, you can get the do-it-yourself execution toolkit just underneath this video. It's going to provide you the email templates, the form that you can start sending out, and show you how to facilitate these sessions, including the delegation, and also how to begin executing, including how to recruit new board members, how to reactivate your present board, whatever stage you are in your board development journey. So get started immediately. I look forward to seeing you succeed, and I look forward to meeting with you to share in your journey.